Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Worlds 2025 here in the quarterfinals. It's a best of 5 between AL and T1 to determine who gets that last coveted semi-final spot. It's 2-1 as AL have moved on to match point against the reigning world champions, and T1 is now in a must-win situation.
All right, super excited for Deep Fearless Flowers. This is where you really put the pressure on. What champions are T1 going to have left here? You have to start digging very deep. Faker's not going to have access to Azir or Orianna the whole series. I can guarantee that. Those will remain permabanned. AL have no reason to change any of these bans. And so we're looking, once again, it's down to the Cassios and Akali and LeBlanc sort of tier of champions.
Well, there's also the Neeko, this absolutely oppressive support champion with so much unique opportunity. The engages from stealth, the clone and the vision that it gives, the ability to tank turrets with the cannon minion. Neeko does so much of what other champions cannot do. T1's going to draft that first. They ban out Alistar, Trundle, and Smolder. Yunara banned out next to those two mid laners that you already said, Kobe. And it's Skarner and Corki drafted by AL.
I like the Corki pickup early here, making sure that you have that safety tool for your AD carry when it comes to these fights, plus something that can help to neutralize a strong bot lane. And with the Skarner already taken, T1 hovering the Nocturne, I don't know if you going further into dive is exactly what you want to do here.
I mean, better than going halfway, I feel like, maybe. Because looking like some full dive here. Yeah, they lock it in. They're going to get the Kai'Sa. So I would assume they want to get Nocturne before the next round of bans come in, because Nocturne just pairs so well with a Neeko. The engage just becomes insane. Yeah, Corki does have Valkyrie, but if you turn out the lights and you allow Neeko an easier time to get in there, then the dive can just be devastating.
That combo is a nasty one. The Neeko ulti can already be so hard to react to from stealth, but when that vision is so restricted, it gives you such an insane engage. And speaking of engage, it looks like the final pick of the first half of the draft is going to be some engage in the bottom lane. Leona for Kael.
Yeah, I'm curious now what they want to try and finish things out with, because when you know the T1 are already going to be playing heavily in towards this dive, things like the Renekton for Flandre, things that are enabled when you play into them, suddenly become very strong, which is why the Skarner, I think, is already in a fairly strong spot coming into this. We'll have to see, though, as the bans start to come through, what is the priority for anyone's legend?
Again, I'm really wondering what the mid lane is going to look like between these two, because it is getting fairly shallow there. And you know that you need something that's going to be able to survive some of this onslaught, because both sides have pretty good engages. Obviously T1's going deep dive, but Skarner and Leona as well is going to put a lot of pressure there.
I do like the Cassiopeia brought up early, though. That could definitely be something for Shanks in the mid lane, but taken away.
Does too.
Yeah, I was going to say also the pick he kind of made his name on coming up from the LDL, but now going to be taken away. But Hui, still a very strong pick that we haven't really seen come up too much in this draft phase, but also something that is very susceptible to the dive.
Okay, so Cassio, Twisted Fate, mid lane, the focus for both teams, but two very different types of mid laners. Obviously, the Twisted Fate can work well with things like the Nocturne, catching you by surprise, and the Hui is exactly the type of read that AL has, but not for themselves. They're looking at it for the other side, just removing one of those strong, stalling control mages.
Exactly, the big damage, the big AoE. What's going to be the response here from T1? Because I'm assuming that mid lane is actually going to be the one getting the counter pick rather than the top lane. There are some extra utility picks here still left up.
I was wondering if they're going to try and ban the Victor, something that can kind of play off that zone of control and opt in towards an early Zhonya's and try and keep yourself safe, but not going to be the case. Going to ban away the Aatrox instead, which to me says they would like to try and bait Flandre into an early Renekton pick, but you still have things like Doran that can go back towards the Gnar, so I think they'd rather keep that Aura 5 for Flandre.
These are all the ones that we're talking about, sifting through the options here.
I'm just waiting.
So it's funny because he started out with a Vex hover, and Vex is a viable counter pick into LeBlanc. You also think about Malzahar, you think about Lissandra as far as these deep dive combinations.
Well, it's the 4-0 LeBlanc so far at Worlds, locked in for Shanks here. And instead, they're just going to pick a very standard control mage of Victor into this. There could be some serious potential there for AL to try to abuse this, as Ornn will be the last pick of the draft for T1.
Yeah, you're setting up T1 basically to have a very strong front to back, honestly. Like, yes, you have some dive components that are in it, but the ability to just try and keep your backline safe while putting a lot of threat down with the Ornn, having that zone control with the Victor, then actually opens up for the utility of the ultimate of the Nocturne to shine more so, as you were talking about, to enable the Nico in fights.
All right. We are in an elimination game for T1 at Worlds. They're putting Gumayushi on the controversial Kai'Sa pick for him. They have a lot of dive to set him up. Ornn ult with Nocturne, with the Nico. Lots of aggressive opportunities there. For Faker's pick, as you say, with the Victor, it is something that definitely can be attacked, especially if you get roams from the Leona to go up to this LeBlanc lane and put some extra pressure there. So very interesting stuff. And with Flandre getting that counter pick, I do like the Mordekaiser into Ornn having priority up there. AL, it just feels like they are on the attack.
Even when you get in towards fights, Doran trying to call in the Ornn Horn gets brought into the Shadow Realm. Yeah. Same when you look at the Nocturne as he tries to dive onto people. There's a lot of ways to disrupt the game plan from T1, which I really like from anyone's Legends composition.
Yeah, Mordekaiser is a great combo breaker, taking someone to the death realm.
I'm excited for this, man. We get to see the Mordekaiser slammed in response to the big team fight meatball. We get to see Faker saying that he's got the confidence to play Victor into LeBlanc, which can be a very, very scary situation. You're already talking about the dive potential on the T1 side, but with Skarner and Leona also drafted for AL, there's some serious engage there too. With how the first 3 games in this series have gone, I'm expecting nothing less here in this 4th one.
Ooh, the tension could not be higher here. AL are 1 game away from making history. Faker is undefeated for 12 years at Worlds versus the LPL.
And it would guarantee an LPL team in finals as well if anyone's Legends were to do it, which for every fan in China would mean a huge amount as they move off towards Chengdu next week.
All right, let's take a look here. On your screen, you can see the history of what we're talking about with Faker against the LPL. All of these best of 5s, 11 of them as of the IG series this year in play-ins. Of those 11, 5 were 3-0s, 4 were 3-1s. Only 2 went the distance of 3-2, and AL is demanding that at the minimum.
And I want to highlight the very first one that it showed there, all the way back in 2013, when Faker won his world championship. That was over the coach of AL. It was over Tabe when Tabe was still a player.
And when Tabe became a coach, BLG was up 2-1 last year in the final. Didn't quite work out. RNG was up 2-1 in 2017. Tabe played for them. And now AL up 2-1. Having to hope that Tabe can actually finally get a team that can take down T1.
T1 have a lot of good stats at Worlds, by the way. They're also 5-1 when they're in this situation, down in a series. Have been very successful, so we'll see about the actual gameplay, because it all comes down to these big moments when all of the pressure is on. Can they survive? Can they pull it out and push us to a 5th game, to a Silver Scrapes? AL, I do like the attack that they have gone on in draft. The attack, the entire series here where they're whittling away at T1 champions. But Keria did get his hands on the Nico, a very dangerous one.
Yeah, Nico is such a powerful champion in the meta. I feel like this champion has just been all over everywhere the entire year long for the playmaking, for the utility that it provides. Both junglers now on to their 2nd buffs. Both did start into the top side, so we'll see if they want to try to get involved with this bottom lane.
I think for Tarzan, he's just going for more of a defensive clear here, trying to clear out the camps at the front, knowing that T1 have that push on the bottom side and making sure that no sort of made. But Guma!
Yeah, immediately Guma under some pressure. As Kyle and Hope trying to push back against the T1 duo who have been shoving them in so far in this lane.
And that's meaningful with both junglers pathing down there. Skarner now is actually wrapping back to Wolves and looking towards most probably the topside Scuttle Crab. So Owner is here. Ward does go down in Tribrush from AL though. They know they are at risk, and so they're going to play safe, or at least try to, under tower.
Exactly. This is so dangerous, though. Hope only at 150 HP. He doesn't have any potions left in inventory. The heal was already used by Kyle. As Owner now paths through the mid lane, he already secured the bottom lane Scuttle Crab for himself, and Faker has priority and control over the mid lane with the topside Scuttle not yet claimed. Tarzan has to use Ishtal's impact to just dig through the wall backwards towards his own side of the map, and it means Owner should have total control over both Scuttle Crabs.
Nice adaptation from T1, even though that trade looked decent for anyone's Legend on the bottom side, but Tarzan snuck his way back in. Can he manage to get on towards Faker here?
Let's see. Wants to move towards him there with the Ishtal's impact, forces the flash. Faker stays safe, but now Summoner Spell down.
Patience there from Tarzan and a sneaky play. We talked about how vulnerable this Victor can be. Now no flash in the early game. You constantly have to respect each distortion from the LeBlanc, looking for these trades. Faker now gonna need some extra vision. You have to call your support sometimes or your jungler to come get you at least one side to ward. Maybe Owner's gonna have to go find this Skarner, try and mark Tarzan to make sure the extra threat's not there, because neither T1 carry has their flash to evade the next gank.
And honestly, the early laning phase is feeling really good for T1, despite losing those flashes on the carries. Bottom lane, it's been pressure all lane long for Gumayushi and Keria because of the advantage that you have with Nico against a melee support. Top side, Doran's been doing great with the Ornn into the Mordekaiser pick, and he's got a CS lead for himself as well. So for AL, you're feeling the pressure to want to make some kind of a play even more than normal.
But I think when you're Tarzan, that's perfectly fine. You're on the Skarner, you've got an opportunity to take really good fights, and you've got setup now, because don't forget, Shanks can distortion in, set up for the chain, follow up then from the Skarner, tear Victor away from the safety of his turret and try and set up plays there. Even on the bottom side as well, you've got the setup from Kyle, and Cleanse will be back up shortly, but you've got so many different routes that this Skarner can take into the bottom side. That Owner, you can see here, needs to babysit as this wave starts to push in and make sure his bot lane doesn't get caught out.
And look at the EXP difference between Owner and Tarzan. Look at the farm difference between Owner and Tarzan. Owner only needs one, maybe two more camps to get level 6 on the Nocturne and have that massive playmaking of the Paranoia. Tarzan, a lot longer to go.
And even though the AL bottom lane, with their attempt at Guma's life, they got both of those summoner spells, Guma still kept up his farm. Good farm for the Kaisa, especially with that Nocturne providing the jungle pressure and securing the bottom side Scuttle Crab. And Owner once again patrolling between mid and bottom. Those two T1 carries relying on the extra presence there, and it has rewarded them.
Yeah, Doran also level 6 was teetering down towards the mid lane in case anything kicked off, but going to make his way back up towards that top side. So T1 trying to shift to control Tarzan, which was the big focal point for the game wins that anyone Legend were able to take.
I like what Guma did there, you know, going through, grouping up the minions to try and focus fire and deny one of them during the recall. It is going to be a reset after that recall, by the way. Hope going for the swap first into the top side.
Landra with his level 6 on Mordekaiser comes down into the river, and that means that Owner does not have the chance to try to contest this Scuttle Crab at all. So Tarzan's going to claim that one, and now the EXP advantage that Owner had in the jungle pretty much entirely alleviated, as Tarzan will also hit level 6 as soon as he clears these Krogs.
They also lost the wave on bot lane as Flandre had late reset, now TP'd into the bottom wave. So this was in the hopes that they could actually set up their Corki for success in anyone's Legend, but there's so many members on the top side of the map for T1, and they don't know Doran's here.
Yeah, Doran's still there, the call of the Forge God, the Paranoia over the top. Hope tries to get away with the flash, but he's still caught up in the fear. He waits to use the cleanse. Hope locked up by the Ornn, but he gets enough distance. AL staying alive for now. Kyle and Hope both get away. T1 goes in. Gumayushi with a killer instinct, but Hope still lives underneath the turret. Doran's going in with a bellows breath, and it's first blood over to Keria. Kyle tries to counterattack with Zenith Blade, but he does not have what he needs. Doran now the target. Shanks doesn't hit him with a chain. He's got to try to get away. as Tarzan wants to kill Doran. Shanks still in the back part of the fight. Tarzan with a 3-man impale. T1 still trying to fight as Faker arrives in. Shanks down to 150, and the blooming burst from Keria gets him. It's a 4-2 game, 8 minutes in, and T1 take the fight.
And the only thing they have to pay for it is the bottom side. Mordekaiser did get left alone with this tower, but it is so good for T1. It is Guma that does not give up on the play. Even though Hope was able to escape from the Ornn ultimate, Guma says nobody's getting out of this. He ults in, he continues to play for T1, and all of T1 commit to the top side.
And it nets them so much. The extra kills, the void grubs, and it's a great call from Doran to stick around to find this pick. Owner and managing to get the lockdown as well, and Kael gets hit by Keria, so can't actually get underneath this tower to protect Hope. So they're so low, and Gumayusi shotguns himself into the back line, makes sure that they can finish off these kills. And Tarzan tries his best with Shanks to bring back this play, but there's just not enough consistent DPS. Tarzan doesn't have it. Shanks has to wait on his distortion cooldown, and despite the great ultimate, again, you only manage to get barely enough back on the end of it.
Yeah, Tarzan is able to set up for the 2 kills back for AL. Of course, T1 very happy with this still. They get the first 3 for the feats, they get a bunch of extra gold, and they got the 2 grubs out of the 3-pack.
And now we're right back into it though. Keria in some danger. Shanks misses the chain, so Keria will stay safe for now. Also did still have the flash, but the vast majority of the gold lead, it's almost a 2,000 gold lead for T1, but 1.3 thousand of that is on Gumayusi's Kai'Sa. 2, 1, and 2 set up in a great spot here in game number 4.
He truly is. Cole down to 45 stacks as well, and on the other side, Shanks, the one to get those 2 kills that Tarzan set up with his Skarner ultimate. This LeBlanc is going to have to do a lot of work.
Especially if you can get on towards Guma again, that's going to be the main focus, but Kai'Sa is so slippery in these fights, it's going to make it incredibly difficult. And even still, having Keria move up towards his top side, protect Faker against the Fed member of AL.
All that early money for the side of T1 resulting in these item completions means that Owner is going to have a very low cooldown on that Nocturne ultimate with his Hex Plate rushed here. So he can start to spam out and really, really apply this pressure to AL across multiple lanes. Of course, the Mordekaiser lane's not the best one to go to because, of course, he has ultimate and can remain fairly safe. But it does put more pressure onto Hope here. You know, the Corki trying to remain safe in mid lane, but he still has no flash. Shanks has no flash as well for the LeBlanc. And if Owner can just ult and apply some pressure or even hover around, he can reduce the income of those carries on the side of AL.
And even though Shanks does have a gold advantage over Faker, Faker does have a nice early Rod of Ages, having that fully completed before 11 minutes into the game. So looking to have that hopefully fully stacked by around the time that an Otacon fight is going to be brewing. I find that to be a pretty important breakpoint for that item specifically.
It's also just nice to be tanky against the LeBlanc. It means the one-shot potential isn't particularly high. So that's where, again, I think for the AL focus needs to be on finding some picks on towards vulnerable members like Keria and Gumayusi, but you can just see how much has been invested by T1 to keep them safe. Our Owner is hovering around in this mid lane, they're setting up a ton of vision, just making sure they can spot out whatever AL is up to.
And there's the Kanik Rookern for Doran as well. This is the most annoying item in the game for these AP top laners to have to deal with against a tank like Ornn. It makes his trades so much more effective into the Mordekaiser. So Flandra having to deal with that now makes it that much harder to find an opportunity to get anything against this guy. And we'll see if Flandra can get any big death rounds in the middle of a huge fight. Because not just taking out a carry or something like that, if you can remove Nico from having a Pop Blossom, if you can ult Ornn before he can use the second half of the Ornn Horn, there's a lot of playmaking opportunities there, and I think Flandra has been a core part of the wins so far for AL.
Yeah, definitely going to have to at least take out one of those big engaged components.
Yeah.
Because if you let T1 use them all, you will get destroyed. 2.4K, the gold lead here. And they just have pressure in all of their lanes. You were talking about Doran. He's just going to keep on pushing with that Kanik Rookern. Gets the pressure on top side, bottom side as well here for Faker, shoving in on the LeBlanc. Even though the LeBlanc is this champion that can go in for some scary moments, it does not have great wave clear unless you are forced to use everything on the wave itself, and then that takes away from the attack mode that you're supposed to be in. So should allow Victor easier wave control as long as you've got a Nocturne to cover you.
Yeah,
Owner is just providing so much safety for the lanes, for the team.
Yeah, and you got 50 seconds until that Dragon, so resets coming through, first items completed. Like T1 feeling in a good spot. They just continue that pressure to the lanes and then move that over into some vision control that's already been established and continue to make it difficult for AL to set up on the objective and look for plays with Shanks or, Tarzan finding a good angle of attack and making it easier to just find picks of your own for T1.
25 seconds until the next Drake spawns. I don't think since he's purchased the Koenig Rookern, I have seen the shield break on Doran's health bar. He just goes up, he gets bonked a little bit, but now Tarzan is looking to change that around. Nice use of the Bellow's Breath, but he is pulled back by the claw from Flandra. He tries to get underneath the turret. Doran flashes away. Flandra does secure the kill, but now he's got to get away from the turret. His teammates coming up to guarantee he survives. It's AL overloading the top side, and T1 are bringing in backup, but they've already lost their top laner.
It's a nice timing window from AL. Right as Dragon spawns, they go for the play, they get the kill, and sure, Faker will get some damage on the bot tower, but now they can actually reset and get back out onto the map and look to contest the Dragon.
Well, I don't think it's just going to be damage on this bottom tower. It looks like it's going to be the entire turret, but that means they could try to have a teleport punish here. Flandra coming around. He did not have to use the Death Realm to get the kill onto Doran, so he still has it, but Faker backs away in time, and critically for AL, they keep that turret alive, so no feats of strength for T1.
Faker trying to now move in to recontest onto the position. Dragon was started by Flandra, but will end up just being pulled out for a little second. Still waiting to see now if they can move in with no Ornhorn and no Nocturne ultimate, though. It's a little spooky for T1 to contest onto the objective.
Well, looks like they are going to go ahead, seize control over the area, start this one up. AL is nearby, but the Dragon dropping down to half HP already, and AL looks to be saying that they have no interest in contesting this one. Flandra's just staying top. He has no teleport, so 1-1 now. Split Drakes between the two teams.
Yeah, T1, they've got the luxury of pushing in on bottom side, and they do have the ability to dive here. Be careful.
Yep, Tarzan's coming in. They want to try to stop this T1 force onto the first turret of the game. Keria over the wall is going to be pushed back as Tarzan throws a rock over there towards him. Meanwhile, topside is Flandra putting the work in on this turret to take the first one. Nice deny there on the feats of strength.
Yeah, and the fact that now you get to use this wave push to move over towards the Rift Herald is going to be super nice as well. So it means T1 will have to overforce on that bottom side again, whereas Shanks can look for his reset. He has the teleport to move into position, and there's some deep wards as well on anyone Legend side, which is perfect for Shanks if he wants to TP into the fight.
Okay, Rift Herald alive. This could also be feats of strength for T1 because they have already secured a single dragon and 2 out of 3 of the grubs. AL are going to get themselves at least the Scuttle Crab beforehand. Tarzan grabs that one, but T1 has multiple men in the area. Taking stock of everything on the map, you can see Faker and Shanks, both in the bottom lane, both have their teleports ready to join a Rift Herald fight. No teleport available on either one of the top laners on either team. And we're starting to hit level 11 in a lot of different roles. Owner critically still only level 10 here on his Nocturne. Faker still needs another 4 minutes before his Rod of Ages hits full stack, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. Tarzan over the wall here with the Blast Cone. Kyle and Hope approaching from mid. T1 forced back away from the Herald.
Yeah, I like that. You immediately just drop it. Just immediately leash the Herald for T1 because Faker can finish this bottom tower and then teleport in, and they do.
Yeah, Karia's going to be the target here from Kyle, but he's not going to go in any further. Blast Cone gets Kyle back away as Doran tries to escape. Tarzan punches him a couple times, but again, that's a very tanky Ornn. Herald's going to lose all patience, and we can see Faker using the teleport to make his way over to the fight now after claiming that tier 1 turret in the bottom lane. Shanks still has a TP, but he's held in mid by Faker because of the wave clear of the Victor. Faker winning the trade against Shanks as Tarzan trades with Keria and Gumayushi. T1 with control over the Herald as AL approach. Flandra's going to look for a target, potentially here for the Death Realm. Herald down to 4K. Claw hits 2, but Flandra can't get any closer. Owner wants to take the objective. Paranoia's already gone out. Herald secured by Owner as the Ornhorn comes in, but only only finds one. Carrier locks up Hope. Gumayushi into the back line, and the AL AD carry's already down. Owner tries to flash away. Doran in the middle of everybody, but Flandra barely stays alive. He should surely die right after the shield falls, and Owner kills him. Kyle's on the run. T1's on the hunt. Everybody on AL's dropping, and T1 are absolutely demolishing the LPL team. Tarzan tries to dig through the wall. He'll barely escape, but it's Rift Herald plus 4 kills to the side of T1.
Even Guma lived! Shanks tried to go back in to kill him, but he couldn't get the vision, he couldn't get the damage! T1 have taken control of this game!
Tarzan wants to see if he can get Faker on the way out. May get the damage down, but AL are so far away. Kerry is still in the vicinity. And T1, this composition from this position is so difficult to fight against as AL. And we see this, they come in. So you end up with Shanks trying to get access to the backline, but it doesn't really work. Doran ends up getting good value, but it's Kerry's ultimate here onto both the carries that sets up perfectly for the play, as Tarzan and Flandra just can't do enough with Shanks to carry a fight like this.
Exactly. The other side of the fight, the Mordekaiser that just ulted this Nocturne, Owner had already gotten the objective, and then Owner still lived as well. It's just T1 dismantling AL on both sides of the team fight. That gold lead that they already had gets more than doubled, and adding the extra objective here, T1 seem like they are going to be able to push us to a Game 5. This early game lead is just so big, so quickly, Captain Flowers.
Exactly. This is so much larger of a lead than we've seen at this point in the game in any of the previous 3. Nearly 6,000 gold ahead for T1. The Drakes are even, so it's not like AL has this sole comeback condition. And now, Otacon's going to spawn here in 20 seconds. Remember what I said about that Rod of Ages? Faker's at 9 stacks, so the lead is about to become an even larger problem. T1 just continuing to build this advantage, keep this pressure on. They're going to try to take the tier 1 turret, but not quite enough damage thus far. But you can see everybody's up here. They've got Doran down in the bottom lane. He's the one answering Flandra. He has his teleport to join up for this Otacon fight whenever they need him.
It's just so difficult if you're AL. Those item creation points just aren't there. And now with the push on top side, how do you try and enter in towards River? How do you try and spot that Otacon has already been started by T1?
AL charged with a nearly impossible task. They are going to walk forward. They are going to see the Otacon started. They're bringing in the teleport. AL have to send some sort of a Hail Mary play here. Tarzan jumps in, only finds Doran. Carrier looking for the Pop Blossom. He only finds it onto Kyle. The Ornhorn flies through and Hope is already down. T1 have found their marks, and they want even more. Owner is smashed by Flandra in the Rift Herald pit here at the same time as Faker stays alive, and they cannot quite do it. Finally, they get the shutdown. AL's winning the fight. T1 may have overplayed. They may have overstayed. AL find their way back into the game. Flandra chasing after the lone survivor as the Otacon will be taken by anyone's legend.
AL, they deleted Carrier, and then they set their sights on Owner. They chunk him so low that Flandra is then able to follow, and Mordekaiser ult does kill the jungler this time around. Here's another look at how it all started. Carrier tried to get in here, but he got locked up by Kyle. It was just so good peeling there from Kyle. He basically nullified that ultimate from Carrier, and then Owner, you see him in the pit, completely trapped here. So AL, they did a very good job dealing with this engage of the Nocturne plus the Nico, and they did it at the most critical moment. The Otacon that they claim in the aftermath.
The Otacon is so dangerous. The shred that it applies to everybody on the team creates the opportunity for AL to come back into the game. 33 flowers to 8 now is about 2,000 gold's worth of adaptive force that AL has over T1. The lead that T1 had, that 5,500 gold, may as well be nullified now because of the Otacon throw. The big deal in this game is still Gumayushi with a personal 3,000 gold lead over Hope. If T1 wants to win this one, it's all Guma all the time.
But that's what we just saw in that last fight, was Guma wasn't able to get into positions to do what he needed to, and then eventually it was Faker who fell with the dive in the back line, and Shanks was able to finish off Guma. Like, there is so much damage, even from the beefcakes now on Anyone Legend. that you need to deal with everyone. I mean, only really Tarzan isn't going to deal much damage in these fights. And for Gumayusi, that is a terrifying prospect.
What a game. This one,
What
the
a
one where we
series.
finally thought that we were having a game that felt one-sided instead of close the whole time. And you can see there on the stats, that plummet of the goal difference so far here in the game 4.
Just such a critical fight to play out like that. And so many eyes been on Kyle here, such a young player, and performing that well in a critical moment. They have to win that fight, and they peel the Nico, they kill the Nocturne, they push back. The Beefcakes, as you said, looking good, Dagda.
I have to see if they can continue it, because still, even though AL won the fight, T1 still finding their pressure in the lane, still pushing the waves in.
Yeah.
And it's anyone's legend trying to hold and bunker down in towards these choke points to deny T1 any sort of deeper access in towards the vision, that control that they need. Also, flashes starting to come up crucially for people like Keria, making him a little bit more vulnerable in these upcoming fights.
Taking a stock of where we are with levels, Flandra about a level up over Doran, Tarzan 2 levels up over Owner, about to just be 1 because Owner nearly level 13. Faker 1 level up over Shanks because of that Rod of Ages we were already talking about. Hope almost has his Muramana fully stacked up here on the Corki. 24 minutes in, that feels very, very late, and it has been a very tough game for Hope. 0-3-2 on the Corki. Gumayusi has been going after him nonstop.
Yeah, certainly has. All right, let's take another look at this, though. Top tower's so low. Ale trying to use it.
Okay, they go in. The solar flare from Kyle. Tarzan wants to swoop around, but the Impale misses. AL threw a lot out there. The Arcane Storm from Faker going to fully push back anyone's legend. Shanks all the way down in the bottom lane. Not going to teleport up for this. AL wanted to defend their tier 1, but when they swing and miss, it's easy for T1 to finish the job.
AL ever so slightly desynced on the play. The stun lands, but Tarzan not there to follow up. It means that T1 able to step away, don't have to burn any of those crucial summoner spells. And now T1 going to continue, reset, move back out onto the map. Especially when I look at, like, Faker being a target is so hard with this build that he's gone for. He is so tanky.
Yeah, I mean, most of this game, he has been just standing and trading with the LeBlanc. He's not flinching at all, and he has been able to trade quite effectively. We'll see if they're able to create another pick, because T1 still have the cover of darkness here with this Nocturne ultimate, and that with all of the engagement that they do have, should basically guarantee applying plasma to somebody for Guma to come in and kill. He's 3-item Kaisa, 3-item plus some, to only the 2 of Hope at the moment. So this Kaisa really should be able to shred, and they do have the Baron in their sights. They're trying to draw Ale to them. This is going to be a turn from T1. Watch out for the engage.
Yep, keep your eyes on Keria specifically here with the Nico. Teleport coming in from the AL side. Also T1 ready to reinforce. Ornhorn sounds off. Doran goes in. They're going to knock up Kyle here at the very start, but into the back line. T1, Faker under pressure. The burst over the mid laner. They found him, but Hope is also already down. Shanks next to die. The Arcane Storm is a Typhoon, but AL is fighting back. More damage to Gumayusi. Flandra wants him. Flandra can't find him. The mace will not connect over the wall. And now Tarzan goes to the killing spree. AL are winning another fight. Doran locked up. He gets away with a teleport to stay alive. 3 for 3. A bloodbath at Baron.
Flandra and Tarzan survive. Flandra's doing so much on this Mordekaiser.
The one of 3 non-Korean top laners to ever win Worlds, and Tarzan and Flandre are doing so much work in this fight. They turn on towards Faker, and even though Keria goes for the Pop Blossom, it only hits onto Flandre and hits nobody, and Gumayusi goes into the backline, but the lockup and Flandre holding on to this ultimate for so long to focus onto Gumayusi to make sure he can't continue in the fight. And again, it's this front line from AL that stays alive and deals the damage, and just when you think Hope is gone, it is still there for the LPL.
Yeah, it's actually crazy because this fight, we just watched Hope get deleted, and Guma also then killed off Shanks right at the beginning. Those are the 2 main carries for this team. You thought, nope, the main carry is the Mordekaiser, and Tarzan got a triple ultimate with the Skarner to buy the necessary time for the Mordekaiser to destroy them.
Hope did 100 more damage than Kyle did in that team fight, and full tank Skarner did over 4,000. The Mordekaiser cracking 5,000 damage as AL now moving into this topside river yet again. Solar Flare used by Kyle does not find anything meaningful here. Taking a look at summoner spells, there are no flashes available on T1. There are none available on AL except for Kyle on this Leona, so keep your eyes on him.
AL are trying desperately to pull T1 away from the dragon, but T1 just going to walk down the mid lane, keep this pressure up, and AL, they're looking at a little split.
Yeah, Gumayushi's going to take down the tier 2 turret. Keep your eyes open for the paranoia. That's the sign that T1's going to look for something, but they don't want to use it here. Instead, it's Gumayushi off on a solo mission looking to take the Drake. It's not soul point just yet, but if he can secure this one, it's going to put AL in a very difficult spot. The Kaisa clears this very effectively, just as a lone unit, and it looks like they're going to grab it here. The Scryer's Trinket used to see what T1 is doing. Shanks goes after Keria, chunks him out, but doesn't chunk him super low. T1 takes the Drake, and now they're ready for the 5v5. Doran summons up the Ornhorn. They're going in after Flandra. They want to focus the Mordekaiser. They've got him locked up in a CC, and Faker strikes him down. AL have lost their strongest player. Tarzan whiffs the Impale, and Owner continues moving forward. AL in a 4v5 have got to be mindful now. T1 may try to go for the Baron as they clear out mid-wave. Flandra's still dead for 35 seconds.
T1 found the thorn on their side and they yanked it out immediately. Now anyone's legend have to defend the Baron. 4 versus 5.
T1 going after the big objective. Tarzan wants to step forward here, try to find a little bit of poke. Kyle and Hope now. A nice catch from Doran. Hope is already down. Tarzan has to retreat. Ishtal's impact through the wall. They can't slow him down. They can't lock him up. T1 back onto the Baron yet again. Owner down to 25% HP. AL, they're going to have their top laner back up here in 5 seconds. So it may have cost them hope, but it buys them enough time to stop the Baron.
Ooh, Doran gets the double knock up there to grab another kill for T1. But, as you say, the Baron goes unkilled here, still on the map. So we have to get the reset and the return to the objective. T1, though, they did such a good job at the beginning, keeping this Mordekaiser at distance and actually chunking him down, then going for the full commit there. Owner goes in, they remove the biggest threat from them in the previous fights. See about round 2 though.
That was the thing, as long as they remove Flandre before he gets that ultimate off, they're in a good spot. And even there, you can see Flandre didn't want to pull the trigger on the ultimate, thought he could maybe survive and then find a higher value target. But if T1 continue to focus Flandre, it becomes a little bit more difficult for anyone's legend.
And good lord, Gumayushi, man, 5,000 gold ahead. He has almost 2 fully completed items up over Hope. He only has 1 slot left to build into, while Hope doesn't even have 3 fully finished big items. You can see Seeker's Arm Guard also fully completed now for Faker, in case he is the one who's attempted to be focused down with the big burst like we saw in the previous big team fight. This one is way closer than I thought it was ever going to be when we saw a 5,000 gold lead at 19 minutes.
And we are also at Soul Point, 2.5 minutes here for T1. T1 returning to the Baron though once again. They're looking to draw AL in.
All right, AL ready to try to stop him, but Gumayushi kills this objective very, very quickly. TP coming in from AL. Keria on the flank, off to the right, ready for the pincer attack. T1 gonna pull off the Baron. They do not want to allow it to get low enough for Tarzan to try to steal. Doran jumps in, knocks Kyle up into the air. Shanks going in after Keria, wants to stop him. Ornhorn through the middle of the fight, and once again, Flandra's gonna get focused, but he is not dead. Big impale from Tarzan, a lot of damage comes through. Keria dies before the Pop Blossom. Flandra in a little bit of trouble now, but he's still fighting. The shield keeps him alive, but T1 is too strong. AL running now. They've lost 2. T1 have only lost their support. It's both supports down. Flandra, the extra man dead, means T1 win the fight.
Yeah, they melt the front line. Shanks is actually creeping around, but there's not much he can get. He's looking for an angle onto Guma.
If he can find Gumayushi, that's the angle. That's the only way to win it, and there he goes! Shanks with the hero play as Hope tries to escape from Doran, but the Bellows breath takes him down. Tarzan wants to get away from Owner, from Faker. He can't quite get there. He's feared up. Shanks nearly kills off Owner, but a beautiful spell shield keeps him alive. Shanks is trapped inside the gravity field, and Faker takes him down. Tarzan on the run. He's the only one left alive from the original fight. Kyle has finally respawned. Faker and Doran are going to continue the chase now. If they can get a delayed kill on this jungler, they can almost guarantee themselves either a soul or a Baron, and that's exactly what they're doing. Tarzan will not be allowed to dig through the wall. The arcane storm silences him as he tries. Faker's gonna recall, and T1, the enemy jungler, dead for 45. The Drake spawning in 30. Take another look.
Let's take a look, Flowers. Indeed, Guma, he's over here, and Shanks sees him, goes right up into his face, bursts him for the shutdown, but they are able to turn it around. Faker here is so tanky with this tanky Victor build, under no threat from Hope, and Doran is able to finish the job, take down the Corki.
And we're back to live. It's Baron that it started for T1. They're trying to burst it down. Kyle has the smite, but there is nothing that he can do to get into the pit.
Exactly. It's free Baron for the side of T1. It's still 10 seconds before Tarzan is back on the rift, and look at Faker's position. He's already in the bottom side river, making sure that AL isn't trying to sneak the Drake early. Baron plus Soul plus 7,000 gold lead for T1 has to spell victory, and that's exactly what they're looking to do. The Mountain Soul belongs to T1 34 minutes in.
It's a MasterCard price this moment is T1. Pick up the Mountain Soul, and that mountain feels insurmountable for anyone's legend right now. They've had their moments, and they have fought damn hard in this game. But now T1 will march on the Nexus and march towards a potential Game 5 here.
Yeah, honestly, I think a Mountain Dragon does seal it for T1. How is a LeBlanc supposed to burst through all this extra durability on these T1 members? It's going to be very, very difficult. There is also a Skarner flanking on Vision. Tarzan's just going to keep going, though, because hell no, they don't have a lot of good angles to go for in the first place.
Owner level 16, maximum range paranoia, so he knows he can join any bottom lane fight from the mid lane. Tarzan still looking for a chance to make some kind of a move here. Owner just guaranteeing that he keeps two separate waves of minions enchanted at the same time. T1 continues to push here in the bottom lane. Cannon minion doing most of the damage under the tier 3 turret as Tarzan is stunned up inside the gravity field, but again, not a ton of damage either way. Shanks wants to try to get some poke, but he won't find a lot. Hope on this Corki still hopelessly behind this entire game. Nearly 6,000 gold lead for Gumayushi as AL try to keep defending, but it is the health bars of the tier 3 turrets slowly whittling away to the Baron empowered minions. Kyle on the side of the terrain here in bottom lane looking for what might be AL's final desperate chance to stay in this game. Doran continues playing the point man here for the T1 side as another wave crashes into the tier 3 turret. A little bit more damage onto Tarzan, but it's not a lot. They don't need a lot, they just need time to chip away at these tier 3s. Doran with a bellows breath to get through the claw. Flandra loses half his HP. The Mordekaiser's gonna be your target. Here goes the Ornhorn. They knock Flandra up into the air, but again, nobody under serious threat. Tarzan with an impale onto one, but he's about to die. He flashes away. Guma flashes in. Carry with a 3-man Paw Blossom will seal the fate of anyone's legend. Guma with a triple. Guma with a quadra. Only Flandra stands. Gumayushi finally dies, but AL will die with him. T1 will not go quietly. They will force down the Nexus turrets. They will move to the Nexus, and they will take us to Silver Scrapes.
Leave it to T1 at Worlds to deliver us a Silver Scrapes. Analysts, are you ready?